Hello, everybody. This is the DBC Community Show. My name is Michael, and I'll be your host, and we'll be speaking with the various members of the Dragonboat community that make Canada such a rich hub for the sport we love. Carolyn Tse was a member of One West, the club that, in my opinion, sparked much of what we now see in Vancouver's Dragonboat scene, and is now part of the coaching staff for Fire Truck, the latest of the strong, youth-driven teams out of Dragon Zone. The story arc of her involvement in Dragonboat is a true feel-good story, starting with a ragtag group of motivated youths with a dream of going to the next level and coming full circle back to the present day as she gives back to the next generation of keen kids. You won't want to miss this one. I give you Carolyn Tse.
Carolyn Tse, welcome to the Dragonboat Canada podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Sorry, my last name is pronounced C.
C. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Like the letter C. Yeah, it's okay.
Let's do that again. That will be better. It's one of the few things that anybody truly owns is their own name. It's only respectful to say it properly.
Yeah, thanks.
So, Carolyn Tse, thank you for joining us on the Dragonboat Canada podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So let's get, as with all of these conversations, let's start at the very beginning. How did you get introduced to the sport of Dragonboat?
Actually, it was kind of funny. I had a co-op work term placement at the Dr. Sun Yat-sen Classical Chinese Garden in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And one guy who worked there, he actually coached a Dragonboat team.
Okay.
And one day he came to me and he said, have you ever tried Dragonboat? And I was like, what's Dragonboat? So he sat me down in this classical Chinese garden with stones shipped over from China. And he was trying to show me what Dragonboat was, how to place my legs and using this imaginary paddle. And he told me about this team he coached and he encouraged me to come out and give it a try. And it sounded kind of interesting. And I went to a couple of practices. It wasn't far from where they practice wasn't far from where we worked to.
Mm-hmm.
So it was easy to get there after work and I gave it a shot for a few times. I enjoyed the sport and I really liked the people, this new group of people I was meeting. And so, I stuck with it.
Was that Dragon Hearts?
Yeah, that was Dragon Hearts Beat.
Okay. And when I'll start with, were you somebody that was active, that was sporty prior to joining Dragonboat?
I would say yes. I've always done a lot of sports growing up in elementary school and high school. I played basketball, volleyball, soccer. I did track and field.
Okay.
In university, kind of slowed down a bit, and then that's where Dragonboat sort of picked up.
So it was like a perfect as some sports were coming down, somebody else showed up with something new for you, and it just worked out well. Okay. Yeah. And when you started getting into Dragonboat, what made you go okay, this is fun. I want to continue doing this. Was it the people? Was it the competitiveness? Practices? First race?
I think it was a mixture of both. I had lived in Vancouver my whole life, but I had never really paddled on the creek there in False Creek.
Mm-hmm.
So going out and just enjoying the settings, being on the water, but also seeing downtown and seeing the sunset sometimes. And I think I like both the setting of where we were paddling and also the group of people I was paddling with. It was a whole new group. I didn't know anybody except for the coach, but everyone was so welcoming and everyone was so friendly. And they were really patient with me, learning how to hold the paddle and how to not splash and how to, do something I had never done before.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as someone who doesn't swim super well either. Going on the water is a little scary at first. But yeah, it was just a really great sport and everyone was so welcoming and I had a lot of fun doing it. So yeah, stuck with it.
What do you remember from your first race?
My first race? I think my first race was actually Alcan. It's called Alcan back then, now
Mm-hmm.
Concord.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the Alcan Dragonboat Festival in 2008. And actually we came first and I got a gold medal, which was super exciting. But it was in rec E.
Rec E. I mean, the first time you do this, you don't really fully understand the ideas of how that stratifies. So
yeah. So I was just excited, it was, not one of the higher levels of racing, but it was still exciting to win our race, right? Like every race you go, you try to win, and we won, and I got a medal, and it was exciting. And my family didn't quite understand how the divisions work either, but they were excited for me. So yeah, I feel like I got a taste of like what competition was like. Wonderful. Even at that level. Yeah, it was fun.
So and I guess this is going to be a good segue because I first know you through the 2011 national team, which was mostly composed of the very beginnings of One West. So how does your participation from Dragon Hearts evolve, and that first taste of winning a gold medal in the Rec E division evolve into starting One West and going on to the national team?
Yeah, I paddled with Dragon Hearts Beat for a couple seasons, and then within Dragon Hearts, they had another more competitive team called Dragon Hearts Magnum. And after a couple seasons with Beat, I decided I wanted to try to be a little more competitive myself. So I actually joined Dragon Hearts Magnum. And when I joined Dragon Hearts Magnum, the coach at the time was Brad Howie. And he saw that we had about half the team made up of younger athletes. And around the same time, there was a new division opening up called U23. I know it's U24 now, but it was U23 at the time. And
for the old ones like you and I.
Yeah, I know, I'm really dating myself. But Brad realized that in Vancouver, we were sort of lacking like a high level competitive training environment for young athletes. We had a lot of high school Dragonboat teams, and then we had a lot of adult teams, but there was nothing sort of in between there. So a lot of high school paddlers would finish paddling in high school and graduate, and then not really have anything to go to next. So then Brad thought that perhaps we needed to develop some sort of team that could compete and train together locally, with the hopes of trying out for the 2011 World Championships in Tampa Bay. And since we had like a strong foundation within Magnum, we actually used that base from Magnum to help start a new team, which eventually became One West. We put it out to the community that we were starting this under 23 team, and that we wanted more young athletes to join if they could. We got lots of different people from lots of different places. We had enough to fill a boat, and it was just a lot of fun because we were all about the same age, going through the same life stages. It was just fun to train together as well.
Yeah, no. First of all, for people who might not be aware, like I think that period of time is the last national team cycle where instead of program directors going through an application process, there was a race off, right? And you guys raced off in Whistler, if I recall.
Yeah, we went to Whistler to do a race off.
And I'm told that Whistler was like crazy cold.
Yeah, Whistler, it was like July in Whistler, which you think would be like somewhat warmer, but it was so cold and it was wet, and obviously we were a little bit underprepared. So yeah, the racing was intense. It was tiring because at that time we were still on Magnum, so we're still racing Premier mixed with Magnum, and then at the same time we were starting this new U23 team as well. So some of us were also racing in the U23 division. So it was cold and it was wet and it was painful, and it was just race after race after race. Yeah, it was quite the event.
Speaking of One West, one paddler, when I think of One West, there's exactly one person that I think about, and that's Terry Huynh. And I've been told that Terry was like he was the one that was like running after everybody to make sure that like encouraging everybody to join the team, encouraging everybody to keep training hard, and et cetera, and like that. How to say, like Brad was definitely like was a leader from like a top down kind of way, but Terry was also very much like he was a big part of of upholding the high standards, but like from a level playing field. What do you remember from that whole experience of like bringing all these new people together that didn't necessarily know each other at first, and turning it into well, for anybody who's in Vancouver, One West is almost everything is going to go through One West. Everything these days definitely has some kind of influence from One West of that days, I believe.
Yeah, so, I think for sure Terry played a big part in One West development, especially in the first few seasons. Just as we were growing as a team, he was, Terry's just such a great guy. He's like super friendly, super welcoming. Obviously, anybody who wanted to join, he would encourage them to join. But also Terry was our first team captain. Okay. So not only was he, good at organizing us, but he was also really great at motivating us. And he was serious when he needed to be, but at the same time, if anyone that knows Terry knows that he's also like pretty funny, and he loves to crack his jokes, and he loves to give people nicknames. But he really was like the heart and soul of the team. And he really was super inspirational. So like just being his teammate and having him around, especially as our captain too, was very encouraging, I think, for new athletes. And he was just a great person to have.
Yeah. I won't force you to tell the public what your nickname was that Terry had given you. I do remember what it is, but I won't force you to say it.
I actually don't mind. It has stuck around for the years. I don't really know why.
Has it?
Well, just because I still keep in touch with all my former teammates too. Right. Not so much people these days. They don't know as much, but Terry somehow gave me the nickname Forearms McGill. And not forearms because I had 4 arms, but more so because like my forearms are a little larger.
Did you ever get self-conscious because of Terry like mentioning it so often, or did you just like brush it off?
I don't know if I got self-conscious, but I definitely became more aware that my forearms were, maybe a little muscular, and he and others would always come and like squeeze them, just as a reminder. But just things like that, which make being on the team so much fun, right? Like the way we really like got along so well with each other, and we could poke fun, but also compliment at the same time,
and developing all these inside jokes, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's what it's all about, especially over the years too, the things that stick around.
So One West is now being created. We have it's a growth out of the Dragon Hearts Magnum. You guys go to Whistler. You have now been deemed the U23 national team that's going to race in Tampa, as you mentioned, and I remember like just shadowing around that national team, and I remember hearing this idea that that for a lot of the Vancouver kids first meeting the U23 paddlers that were coming from the east, and there was a sense that like they were all like super strong and super jacked and whatnot, and in comparison, like what do you remember from your first contacts with the U23 paddlers coming from Toronto and Montreal?
What I remember first, I think what stood out the most was some of the athletes, especially some of the guys, were indeed like super jacked. Not to say that our guys weren't, but just in general, the guys out east, we're all around the same age, but they look like they had been gymming for years. Whereas like here in the West, we put a lot more emphasis on paddling time and water time because we can, right? Like we can paddle all year round here, like the water doesn't freeze over in the creek, so we can just keep paddling. And there was never quite direct correlation in our minds between like lifting weights and being a fast paddler. Right. We kind of thought like the more water time you put in, the faster you can get, the more you can develop your stroke. So meeting the athletes from out east and doing time trials against them, everyone was super strong. So it kind of helped show us that even though we had very different like training environments and we used different season plans or season structures, we could still achieve like similar results, but just through different means. So yeah, it was a good introduction to what strength training and gym training could provide, and it was good for us to think about that in terms of cross training as well.
I do get the impression from my from an outsider's perspective, watching what the teams look like in Vancouver, starting from that 2011, 2012 range and moving forward, like the 2013, 14, 15 period, like suddenly Vancouver is looking a lot like is looking a lot more like East teams in terms of muscularity, and I have to wonder to what I'm not sure if we can necessarily say is like this is the reason why, but I definitely wonder to what extent that first contact from the 2011 team influenced that things from there on. World Championships in Tampa, what do you remember from there?
Oh, Tampa, that was a long time ago. It was funny because when I talk about Tampa Bay and the competitions there with my teammates, it's not necessarily the racing that stands out the most. Obviously, we were there to race and we had a lot of races, but there were only 3 countries in our division. There's only us, USA, and Trinidad Tobago. And after a while, we sort of noticed every single race ended in the exact same order. So really, when we think about Tampa Bay, what we remember more so is the things that happened beforehand or the things that happened after, or all the little things in between. Like we had Wakefield, we had training camp in Wakefield, Quebec, and that's where we really got to bond with the other U23 members from the East, and we got to spend a lot more time together. Or like opening ceremonies where you get to wear your country's colors, and you wave your flag, and you see all the other countries, and you really feel like you're at a world competition, and you see what we have to go up against. And then also, small things like how cold the convention center was. Tampa Bay was so hot, and like Athletes Village was in this conference center where they blasted the air conditioning. So you'd go in there and it was nice for the first 30 seconds, but now you're wet and you're freezing. So it's like small things like that, or the fact that, we heard the national anthem, our national anthem, so many times, which was great. But we also heard, Eye of the Tiger and We Are the Champions, like on repeat over and over and over. Stuff like that. Or even, one really great highlight too was Hugh Fisher came to talk to us, and he's like an Olympic sprint kayak athlete, and he represented Canada multiple times. And he came over to talk to us as a team, and he tried to motivate us for one of our races, and he talked to us about like execution and how the only thing when you're going to race that you need to think about is execute. Like you have a race plan, and like no matter what else is going on, your goal is to just execute what you've been practicing all season. So that was also a highlight. Oh, and the hotel we stayed at. Oh, that was I can't remember what it was called. Maybe it was like the Embassy Suites or something. I can't remember, but the hotel was so nice. And for us, like young athletes, getting to stay there with a fancy hotel breakfast and like an omelet bar with someone to make omelets for you. It's like things like that really excited us.
You remind me of something that I get this impression from a lot of different people who have had the opportunity to do a lot of different competitions, where like for sure like the reason why we're here is for the races, because that's the whole point of the thing, but ultimately like the races represent so little time in the grand scheme of all the time that you spend there. It's all the like it just goes to show the importance of being on a team that you truly want to be with, right? Because you're going to be spending all this time with these people not racing.
For sure.
Hopefully you enjoy being with these people and creating the memories, like you said, before and in between and after, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's and I think that specific era of One West definitely had it, because as we're going to go over onto the next questions, like it's like this is not the end of for that team, right? So let's move on. 2012, I'm not going to play the video because I think my computer is actually not able to do Zoom and play a video at the same time. But I will simply say, what does the song "I Can't Stop" mean to you?
I Can't Stop was basically the song that Nigel Edwards used to was the background music of the video that he made for us. It was like a promo video for One West. And we had never done this before. This was our first time. And actually, one of our pallers, Sunny, his friend was Nigel. And you know, he had us hooked up with him, and we shot this video. He came to our practice. He got in a coach boat, and he filmed all this like great footage on the boat and off the boat. You watch the video. Yeah, and he put it together, and he played the "I Can't Stop," and it was like a really great video.
I still
really helped pump us up.
I still truly believe it is the best pump up video, it's the best Dragonboat pump up video I have seen. Yeah, like I remember the first time I saw it, it's like, this isn't like I'm gonna be racing against these people, but I'm still like really
I know, he did a great job with the video.
Although I will also say that I, in a way, blame you guys for every other team afterwards who has made pump up videos after pump up videos, trying to match what One West did that year. And like I said, like I honest to God don't believe that anybody has quite matched the level of intensity that video had. For anybody who hasn't seen it, I promise I will put the links in the description so you can go see it. I rewatched it like 30 minutes ago before doing this interview.
To get pumped for this call.
I still strongly believe in every word I just said.
Yeah, it is funny. I have watched a few other teams' videos. And yeah, I do enjoy watching them, and I like seeing how different teams like to, you know, showcase themselves in like a 30-second clip or a 1-minute clip or whatever it is. Like, how much can you show in that amount of time? But yeah, it was kind of funny that after that, a lot of teams started having these promo videos.
I will point out, promo videos seem to only happen in the West Coast. Like, they're either Californian teams or they're Vancouver teams, but they don't happen out east. So like
the West Coast thing.
Well, I feel strongly that like this is one of the things where I can say A goes to B. It started with you guys.
Well, maybe it'll make its way slowly over there.
Maybe, but I mean, like you not only started the trend, but you are still the leader of that trend. So so congratulations on that.
Thanks.
So yeah, 2012, you guys created that awesome video. 2012 is also the first time that that One West wins Alcan.
Yeah.
And you said that you were on, you went from winning a gold medal in the Rec E division in 2008, and then 4 years later, you're now winning the Comp A gold medal.
Yeah, that's
What do you remember from 2012 and winning Alcan?
So 2012, so that was technically our second season as One West, right? Like, our first season was 2010, 2011. And that year in 2011, when we raced Alcan, we came second.
Okay.
We came second to FCRCC by 0.28 seconds. 0.28. So obviously that like nodded us.
Oh yes, not you just said 0.28 and not remembered all the Facebook profile pictures that changed
0.28. Yeah, you know, like, you train so hard, and you know, obviously these races are so close, and you win or lose by like a fraction of a second. So yeah, we use that as like motivation, like to train harder, to put every ounce of energy into everything that we do in the gym, on the water, because it's like those small things that make the difference, right? Between first and second or third. So yeah, after 2011 coming second by 0.28, second, we trained our asses off, and we finally won in 2012, which is super satisfying. However, you know, as exciting as that was, on the flip side, FCRCC did not put a team in that year. Okay. So, you know, it shouldn't take away from our win, because it's still a big deal to win this festival with hundreds of teams. But people did kind of make some comments that competition wasn't quite the same. So yeah, it was super exciting. Like, we were thrilled to win. We got this little trophy. We took it to celebrate with us afterwards. We were drinking soup out of it and other liquids.
It's good. You don't need to say more.
Yeah, so obviously we enjoyed it. We celebrated. We took it for what it was. Yeah, we just used that for motivation to train harder again for the next year.
Which will be 2013 National Championships in Victoria, so not too far from you guys. Qualifiers for the Ravenna Club Crew Championships in 2014. And One West did really well, if I recall correctly. You guys beat Armada and won Premier Mix, if I recall correctly.
We're talking about 2013.
2013 in Victoria.
Yeah, 2013. Yeah, so we went from 2012 first place at Concord, Alcan, and then 2013 we went to Victoria Nationals, and yeah, we were national champions. So we were super excited about that. There's some super tight races. Yeah, and we did beat some really big teams, and these are teams that I don't recall if we had raced before. Certainly not.
I don't think so, because I was there too. So let's see.
But in Montreal 2012, was everyone there?
Yeah. So when One West and Armada raced in 2012, the Montreal National Championships. First of all, because it was an even year, so less people showed up. Armada beat One West. And it was just basically you guys and us. So then in 2013, Armada shows up again. One West is there, obviously, but now everybody's showing up fully armed to try to win a berth to Club Crews. NDRC also showed up. I don't think you guys ever raced them at that point.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Slipstream had shown up. You guys had not raced them at that point. Who else was? And yeah, there was the team from H2O, and there was a team from there was one team from H2O, and then there would be there was a CIBC, I think, was also racing there, but you guys already know them. And then who else was there? The Storm from Toronto was also there. Yeah, it was a very legitimate competition. Very, very strong teams. If anybody forced you guys to take an asterisk on your success in 2012, there was nothing that can be done about 2013. You guys fully earned the win in 2013.
Thanks. Yeah, it was definitely the first time that we faced competition like that, which is really great for us, as young athletes, learning how to compete at that level. It was great to face that level of competition, and it was just fun. It was fun to race together as One West at that level against all these super strong teams as well, and to have races so tight with so many teams just made it both exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time.
Now the crazy thing is that as we're going back through these years and it feels like we're still going up a roller coaster. You guys do 2010, you guys come together and you're doing really, really well, but it's not done yet. We go to 2011, and then you go to you represent Canada at the World Championships, but the story is not done yet. And then you go to 2012, you win Alcan, and the story's not done yet because then you go to 2013 and then you win national championships, and the story's not done yet because then One West goes to Italy 2014, and you guys will win a gold medal there.
We did, and actually that gold medal was extra special to me because we were actually in Ravenna for the Club Crew World Championships during my birthday. And that 200-meter race where we won the gold medal was actually my birthday. And I told the team, all I want for my birthday is a gold medal. Please. It's not a lot to ask, if we're here already anyways.
Might as well try.
Yeah, and the team delivered, and so I was, beyond thrilled because we became world champions at the Club Crew World Championship on my birthday, and so I was thrilled.
So yeah, like what do you remember from 2013 moving on to 2014 and the Ravenna experience, and like let's say contrast that with your first world international competition in 2011.
I would say, at our first world competition in 2011, we had sort of just been a team for like barely a year. And we were also racing with athletes from out east. So it was like Team Canada. So we come together from throughout the country. But of course, we did know a lot of the athletes from here as well. But the difference when you go to club crews is that it's your home team, right? It's the people and your friends that you paddle with all year round. We train together on the water, we train together on land, we go eat together, we started socializing together, we started hanging out together, we became best friends. So to me, club crews meant a lot because we spent so much time together. Not that we didn't for the national team, but national team we're kind of thrown together when we can. But yeah, so in 2011 we had just been a team for a short amount of time, and then went to go race at this world competition where we only had 3 countries in our field. So the competition was a little different too. But the 2013, 2014 years, that was we had been One West for a few seasons now, and so we had developed more as paddlers at that point as well. And we had done a lot of big races, and so we had a bit more experience under our belts. But obviously this was our first time going to World Club Cruise. So even though we had all this experience built up over the last few years, it was still, it's like our first time. Still, nerve-wracking but exciting, and not really sure what to expect. Don't know what the other countries are like, but it was just nice to see the field of competition, and to be able to go there to Ravenna and represent both One West, but also like Canada, like one of the Canadian teams as well. Yeah.
Do you, be honest, did you expect to leave Italy with medals?
I don't know if I want to say expect. Like, I try not to go in with expectations like that, but for sure we had that was our goal, right? Like that was our goal, and we trained super hard to try to get there. And we were definitely building over the years, between like Concord champions to national champions to hopefully the next step being world champions. So yeah, but when you don't know what the competition is going to be like, and you have no clue what other countries' teams are like, if you've never raced them, it's hard to say you'll expect to get medals. But it was super nice that we were able to accomplish what we did accomplish, considering all the effort over the years of building.
Yeah,
that led us to
it's a long build.
Yeah, I would say it's a long build for sure, but it didn't feel super long, because all the training you do is like, it's with your friends, right? We did everything together. So it was like our hobby, but we enjoyed it so much.
I want to, like, you mentioned how like club cruise just have like, as fun as World Championships is, club cruise just has like that extra special feel because of the fact that it's people that you've really developed with, and that mirrors a lot the experiences of plenty of other people that I know who've had the luxury of having done both World Championships and Club Crew Championships. How like racing on a World Championship team, which you will do again. We're not done with your story, but racing at a World Championship level is certainly like eye-opening, because like at least I have never felt a boat quite like ever like I have felt a boat when I was on a World Championship team. But and so it's really fun like that. But again, like you said, like it does feel like sort of like a given, because everybody's a superstar and we just like smash them all together. Like, well, not surprising that this boat really feels great, right?
Yeah.
But when you accomplish something huge with a club team, I remember Matt Smith saying it as like, you're so much more aware of all the flaws on the team because you've been with the team forever. Like, sure, you know everybody and like for all their strengths, but you also know all their flaws. And so it's so much easier to tell yourself like this shouldn't work because of this and because of that and because of this and because of that. But it makes the victories so much feel so much better because like you've really like nurtured this from the very beginning and made something out of it. Does that feel similar to your own experience?
Yeah, I would say so, because when, like, we were talking about how like when West started, and you know how we were just a bunch of U23s with not a lot of racing experience, and there was no real like high level training for young athletes in Vancouver yet, really. So taking that group, even like the thought of trying out for the national team for Tampa, that was a pretty big thing too, because none of us had any like national team racing experience, and you know it wasn't even on our radar until you know it was introduced to us as an option, right? So going from that to just being introduced to the idea of racing at a world championship, to then taking that base of athletes, forming a larger team, and then building up that team over the years, to eventually go on to become world champions at Club Cruise 2014. That, looking back, is like a dream come true. Like it was like such an amazing story, and when I think about it, I get all emotional too sometimes, because like also through those years and through all the experiences, the highs and lows, you form bonds with your teammates, and you know, I for sure will have lifelong friendships with some of the teammates on the team too. And when we have reunions, eventually one day we can have reunions again. It's always fun to see everybody and to see what everyone's up to, what everyone's been doing. And it's just nice to reminisce. Even like this chat is nice because it's you know, like a walk down memory lane.
Well, I'm glad to be guiding you through all of this. Now, let's take a little bit of a pause before we continue moving through your story. One thing that I've noticed is One West went through a fair share of coaches, if I recall correctly. Like there was the Brad Howie period, then Jackie Weber. There was a period with Rob Magus. And so and you were part of the team through all these coach changes. And I think there's much to be said about the idea of like, well, getting different viewpoints is good for the development of an athlete, but at the same time, I think we can also say that having a strong rapport with a coach can help also with the development. So there's a push and pull with every change of coaching. What do you remember from your experiences of like switching from one coach to another, and the good and the bad that came with it?
Yeah, there were definitely advantages and disadvantages to having you know, 3 coaches over 7 seasons. But yeah, like you said, like each coach had their own strengths, and so we got to experience different coaching styles, and we got different perspectives from each of the coaches too. And at the same time, having different coaches, you know, obviously we needed them for their guidance and their technical feedback, but at the same time, it also helped us as a team become more collaborative and independent. And when I say that, I just mean that we could run ourselves, but at the same time, like having the coaching there was really great too. But you know, as you go through different coaches, you kind of learn what you like and what you don't like, and what works for your team too. But also, when you think about trying out for the national team, whether you're doing U23 or Premier, you know, you have to be flexible, and you have to be adaptable, and you have to be able to learn new things and pick them up pretty quickly. Because with the national team, you don't actually have that much time when you're trying out to show the coaches what you can do. So yeah, I think having different coaches also force us to be more flexible and adaptable and open to changes too. But yeah, like different coaches also had different season structures or plans. Like I remember when Rob came on as our coach, he was our last coach in One West. He didn't start us in Dragonboat till late March, which for us was a big change, considering we can paddle all year round. With Brad and Jackie, we kind of paddled in Dragonboat a lot. And even if we did some OC6, we still did some Dragonboat as well. But with Rob, we sort of stopped the Dragonboat, and he had a plan, he had a vision, and obviously it paid off. But you also need the team to buy into the new vision that the new coach is providing too. You know, it makes you nervous when you see all the other Dragonboat teams on the water and they're trading and they're doing their thing, and you're not in the Dragonboat yet. Yeah, that's where, you know, you just have to learn to trust your coach as well. And obviously throughout the years we trusted our coaches, and it did pay off. Obviously it helped us get to where we wanted to be each time. But yeah, with disadvantages though, I'd say that, you know, obviously every time your coach changes, there's like an adjustment period, right? Where you also, you know, the coach has to get to know all the paddlers. Like you said, there's no rapport necessarily yet. And yeah, it's just a change. And, you know, some people like change, some people don't like change. But eventually everyone gets used to it and you learn how to adapt to the new coach as well.
Did anybody have, did you notice if either yourself or other paddlers struggled more with either trusting the new coach or buying into new philosophies? And can you think of anything that helped to take these like slower adopters, let's call them, and get them on board?
I think on One West, we always tried to have like a team mentality, you know, like everything we do for the team. And for the slower adopters, as we're calling them, I think it was important to remind everybody that, you know, we're all on the same page, you know, and it's really important that everybody buys into whatever our coach is telling us, because if one doesn't or two doesn't or three don't, then we're not necessarily working as that one cohesive unit anymore. So it's just a good reminder that, you know, obviously when you have 20 something people, not everyone's going to agree all the time, but it's important to sort of put aside your differences sometimes for the greater good of the team. But yeah, I think, you know, I don't know if I can think of exact examples, but also like when Rob started coaching us, he, for the first time, like Brad and Jackie would coach from a coach boat and give a lot of like outside perspective, like them looking at us on the Dragonboat, whereas Rob, he was more of a in the boat coach. He actually coached from within the boat, and he actually paddled and raced with us as well, which was a whole different perspective too, because he could feel what we were doing too, right? And then, you know, some people wanted more outside the boat feedback, so occasionally we'd get a coach boat so he could provide the outside the boat feedback too. But yeah, I think for that example, there's benefits to having both ways as well. But yeah, if something came up that people weren't happy with necessarily, we'd try to adapt if we could, you know, to try to make everybody happy. But yeah, like I said, it was more of like a team mentality and trying to make sure that you know, we were working as one unit.
And speaking of that strong team cohesion, I realize what I'm about to say might come off as a bit of a criticism of what I've seen in Vancouver, and I don't plan on. I'm not searching to make this into a criticism, but it is definitely an interesting observation. Where so again, me being from Montreal and like I have some good contact in Toronto. Many of the teams that I'm used to racing against are teams that have that exist for like the last 10 plus years, and besides FCRCC in Vancouver, I can't think of many of like podium winning teams that have existed for a super long time. They usually like exist for like a pocket of like 3 to 5 years. They'll hit a certain peak where they'll try to race up club crews or win nationals or something like that, and then they fizzle away. And so I'm curious, from your perspective, do you have an idea why that might be? Why the teams in Vancouver don't seem to like they prefer to like maybe focus on one project, get to the end, and then everybody's like, okay, good, we're done.
Which is very efficient, you know.
maybe.
I don't know. It's hard to say, but you know, I don't really see that as like a criticism necessarily. It's just it's an observation, and it's true. Like I agree. Like FCRCC is an amazing team, you know, and they've been such strong competition for so many years. But I think what really works well for them is that like FCRCC, the club, only has well, it doesn't have that many Dragonboat teams, but it only has one Dragonboat team at that level.
Okay.
So if anybody joins that club and is looking to compete at that level, in terms of Dragonboat, then FCRCC would be the team to join. And you know, like I said, they've been around for so long, they're so well established, and they have such great coaches, with Andrea and Comney, too, that I think there is a big pull to join that team if you want to join that club. Whereas on the flip side of things, I would say that, you know, One West sort of introduced Dragonboat to like a younger audience, when we sort of showed up. And then after that, a lot of new teams started popping up, which is great. Like the Dragonboat scene was getting bigger and bigger, especially with the younger audience. But the problem that sort of arose is that with all these young athletes, we're all going through the same like life stages at the same time, you know, like we're graduating high school or just starting university, or, you know, just starting our first jobs. And so Dragonboat was sort of more of a hobby that we did on the side, but our main priorities were school or work. And so I think when everyone's going through these things at the same time, it also means that a lot of people tend to move on around the same time as well. So like retaining the teams, retaining the paddlers was hard, and it's even harder to like a Dragon Zone when you have so many young teams that it sort of dilutes the pool, right? Like instead of having everybody sort of feeding into this one team, you know, we had One West, and we had DZP, and we had UBC, and then, you know, more recently there's Juice, and there's Fire Truck, and there's just like a whole lot of teams that athletes can choose from, which is great. But it also means that the athlete pool is more divided among all the teams that we had there. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I think your point about like life stage changes creates like when you lose large chunks of your team simultaneously. Like it's hard, and you don't have an easy place from which you can like fill that gap with.
And I think also like if you're fortunate enough to have someone in charge who's like passionate about the sport, but also does it as, you know, a part of their living, that also helps with the longevity of the team too, I think. Whereas like for One West, I would say that our coaches, they coached us kind of like as their side hobby to their other jobs as well. So it's hard to retain paddlers over the years, but it's also hard to, you know, get one coach to commit to however long.
Because like you have less of a like key person or like anchoring point that like as a team changes over the decades, like there still will be like these 5 paddlers or like this one coach that will be there throughout the whole thing.
And that's what I think of when I think of teams that have been around for a while. They tend to have that either like one person or a few people or that like entity sort of keeping them
Mm-hmm.
going throughout the years.
Mm-hmm. I think you make a very good point when and exactly not a criticism, but it is definitely a different kind of Dragonboat culture in Vancouver compared to what I'm used to out here in the East. And I think you put your finger on it when you said that these teams tend to be centered definitely around more like that young adult, like just starting to becoming a real adult.
Yeah.
and everything that applies.
Yeah.
Coming back to you specifically, like I said, like I had alluded to, this is not the end of 2014 is not the end of your story. You'll be on the premier national team 2015 and 2017. Compare and contrast to me your experience as a U24 national teamer versus a premier national team paddler. How were those experiences different? How was the selection process different? What do you remember from all this?
I would say the main thing that stands out to me when I think about U23 versus Premier is the level of competition. And I mean that in two ways. One, I mean, like the selection pool, for me at least, when I did U23, I think it's more competitive for U24 these days. But when I did U23, I think the selection pool was a bit smaller back then. Even though we were selecting from throughout Canada, it didn't seem like as many athletes as there are these days trying out for U24. But then when I went to Premier, it seemed like there was a lot of women that I was going up against, and it's not just the number of women, but also like the quality of athletes, because now you're going up against women who have been paddling for so long. Like in U23, a lot of us had only been paddling for like a few years, maybe it was like some people it was their first year paddling, some people only second year paddling, whereas in Premier you're competing against women who have been paddling for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, so they have like so much experience in their pockets as well. And so I would say the level of competition in terms of who you're trying out, who you're competing against to make the team, but also once you're on the team, I would say the level of competition was very different between U23 and Premier as well. Like I said, in Tampa, there was only Canada, US, and Trinidad Tobago, and every single race was first place Canada, second place US, third place Trinidad Tobago. Whereas in Premier, there were way more countries to race against, and the races were a lot closer, and you didn't necessarily win all the races either. So I would say, the level of competition would be the main difference. But I would say that looking at the U24 field these days, it seems like it's changed a lot from when I was doing it U23. So
100%. I actually remember thinking to myself, what was it when Thailand showed up to race U24 in France against the 2017 team, and then going to Thailand to race them on their home turf in 2019. And I remember thinking about how like these are the first times that the Canada's U24 have ever like had to work for a gold medal since my year in 2009. Because for a while, 2011, 2013, 2015, it was a given. You just showed up and you did your race, and it was a guarantee to win, which is testament to the quality of the U24 category in Canada. But I'm so happy for them that now the gold medals aren't easy. Because it does, like we said, like what you remember is a lot of everything in between, but ultimately you were there first and foremost for races, and so having good races is definitely key to making the experience as worthwhile as possible.
I agree. I think gold medals that you earn that don't come easy are, to me, worth a lot more. Like they have more of a story behind it, and they just mean so much to you. Not to say that medals that you win by like bigger caps are worth any less. I just, for me personally, I like the story that comes with hard-earned medals.
100%. Like the first time you win a gold medal by a huge gap, it's super fun because like, oh wow, like okay, all that work we did really paid off. And then every medal after that where you win by a big gap is like, okay. It's cool. It's a great ego. It really flatters the ego, but in the end, like I completely agree that like the medals that you win by tiny fractions are like stick with you way more.
Yeah, because you want to race against the best, right? And you want to win, and if you win, it means you're the best of the best. But sometimes if the depth in the field of competition is lacking, it makes you want there to be more competition almost. You know?
Yeah. And so like I'm happy for the U2 of these days that get to experience that.
I know. Sometimes I'm nervous, but yeah, it is definitely more exciting to watch when you don't know the outcome.
So my final thing. So at this point, so you've paddled for quite a while. One West has accomplished plenty of great things and has gone. And now you're back into and for a short while, I think you stopped being involved in the Dragonboat community, or at least as far as I'm aware of, and then you reappear, but now with Fire Truck. How did you get pulled into the world of coaching?
Actually, so I kept dragon boating till One West last season, which was 2016, 2017.
Okay.
And then after that, there wasn't really any other local dragon boat team that I wanted to paddle with. So I kind of thought, and I just finished the Premier National team in 2017 as well. And I kind of thought, maybe now's where I make my exit after, almost a decade, like 10 years of paddling. But then my friend and former teammate, Anthony Cow, was looking for a co-coach, a replacement co-coach, because his current co-coach, Derek Tam, was moving. So he wanted to find someone else to coach with him. And so he reached out to me, and I was super flattered, but at the same time, I was kind of hesitant.
Okay.
Because I had, like zero coaching experience. I had never coached a team before. And occasionally, I guess I had done some drop-in, learn to dragon boat coaching for people who had never done dragon boat before. They know nothing about dragon boat. I can teach you a few things. But when Anthony Cow asked me to join him, I didn't want to say yes right away because I didn't want to commit and not feel prepared to do it or not feel adequate. So he actually invited me out to go to a few practices, and I joined them for a couple of practices. I sat in the coach boat to sort of get a feel for what the team is like and to sort of see what coaching might be like. And it's funny because when those couple of practices I went to, they were coaching UBC. It was UBC before it became Fire Truck. UBC reminded me a lot of One West. They just like the way they interacted with each other, the way that how well they got along, their age group, the way they joked with each other. They remind me a lot of One West, and I saw a lot of potential in the team too. And because we were still racing as One West up until 2017, we had raced UBC, and they were like right on our tails, like they were getting there. So I kind of thought that they could go places. They could really definitely go places. But I was questioning whether I was the right person to try to help them get there. But yeah, after going to a couple practices and sort of getting a feel for the team, I really liked it. And I thought that this would be a good way for me to give back to the Dragonboat community as well. Because, when I started paddling, I knew nothing about it either. And the Dragonboat community gave me so much over the years. And this was a nice way for me to still stay involved with the Dragonboat community and to give back in a way that I thought I could do. So yeah.
What a perfect way of concluding this conversation. We're going all the way. We're circling back to the beginning. And the importance, I think, the key point to drive in is the importance of that community. You found back a group that gave you that same feel of like, okay, like these are 20 people that are like that have this, that they're merging together into having this one common vision that they want to accomplish.
Yeah. And I could tell that they were ready to work hard. Like, you know, they were a group of young athletes and they were determined, and yeah, having raced against them, I saw what their racing attitude was like, and how much racing meant to them. And yeah, just getting to be a part of their process next was a new and exciting opportunity as well. Yeah.
Well, I think that if ever there was any doubts about your abilities as a coach, I think that your success in Regina really hammers home that that if not you, at least like that team of like what Derek had built before, now with Anthony and yourself. Is there any other co-coaches that were helping out with?
Yeah, actually, so Anthony and I coached the Dragonboat portion, and Derek, even though I was sort of helping to fill his shoes when he left, he still stayed on, and occasionally he came back to town and helped out as well, and we still consulted with him because he knew the paddlers better as well, so we still talked to him and kept him involved. And then Felix Ottersbach, he also helped coach as like an outrigger and OC1 and small boat coaching coach as well. And then when we did OC6, he helped give feedback there too. Yeah, so it was more so like a team of 4 of us really, that helped the team get to where they are.
I just love how like this team is being coached by literally 4 former One West paddlers, and so like the influence of that team continues without a doubt. And I feel it's unfortunate, like as with many things, it's unfortunate that COVID has prevented all of us from going to France and seeing what that next step would have been for Firetruck. But I have no doubt that we haven't seen the end of that team. Yeah. Carolyn, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again, and going and like you said, going down this memory lane with you.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure answering all your questions and chit-chatting and just like seeing your face because I haven't seen you in a while either.
Thank you. Carolyn, thank you.
Thank you.